What's up, guys? Focus Friday. Hope y'all are doing great. I want to go through a few news stories that hit this week. Some are from last weekend, a little more explanation of some stories that I brought up last weekend, but they are definitely directed towards churches and some things we can learn from. So the first one was a story I mentioned last week in which a police officer shot a person at a live nativity. So it was an outdoor event in which the church community was invited. And a police officer was providing security off duty, and he shot. At that point, last week, I didn't have any information really. There was more information that came out about this occurrence, and it's pretty interesting. So this guy is known to the church community. He was there with his wife, so it's a member of the church, or at least somebody who is in some way associated, and they know who he is. During the outdoor event, nativity live event, he drew a gun and shot at a police officer. That's all the information we had before. At that point, though, he got into his car and then tried to drive through a crowd. And then it says in the news article that security then went after him and detained him. So it's unclear here if this was a safety team, kind of an organized church safety team that went after him, but more people than the police officer at least went and interdicted in order to prevent the loss of life. The guy ended up crashing in a ditch, and then he went to a knife, at which point several individuals, probably including the police officer, detained him. So he was arrested once police arrived. He was probably detained by that officer. Police arrived and arrested him. So really, I think some lessons learned in here are we're very, from a church community, we're very conscious of the kind of outside attack, but it can come from within as well, and it happens very, very quickly. So, I think these folks were doing a good thing, and I think the fact that one person was shot and another person injured, both survived their wounds. I think that is a testament to some planning, some security planning that they had in place. They had an off-duty police officer, so he's a presence and obviously skilled and experienced. And then they also had a security team, it appears, or it says security. So some other individuals that helped to intervene in this situation. So those plans and stepping up really did impact the loss of life. I think it's interesting that he got into a car and then used that as a weapon. So that is a consideration, especially in our outdoor events. If we're doing outdoor events, we really need to consider, all right, where is our foot traffic and how do we utilize bollards, things that are going to prevent vehicles from getting into the crowd, because it is a very formidable weapon that is hard to stop. Okay. The other thing is he went to a knife. Once that car wrecked, that is still lethal force, right? So I can't judge the folks who ended up detaining him and going hands-on with the guy, but having a knife, he's already shown his propensity to kill, and he has the immediate means necessary to do so now with a knife after having tried to with a gun in a car. So definitely had the authority to use a firearm to stop that threat. They may have not had that accessible to them, that tool, but either way, it ended about as good as it could in a sense that nobody died. So just wanted to bring that out, a little more depth to that story. The next one is another vandalism. So we see a lot of these guys. Again, really get with your churches, make sure their security cameras are placed in good spots. You want to have them in places, certainly at entryways if people are going to be breaking in, but any sort of high value things, right? Or things that represent the church that could be targeted. So that could be statues are very common, are being targeted. That's what happened here in this case, in which several things were broken, including a very, very old ancient St. Joseph statue. So the damage is between $20,000 and $40,000. So that is why we have insurance, but at the same point, we do want to ensure that our churches can pass on good evidence to police. So the way we do that is by having really good camera systems that can capture footage once we find these things out. Next couple stories, guys, are interesting. because they involve a couple pastors who actually stepped up and defended and took action and interdiction. So this is pretty uncommon. So the title of this one is a Kung Fu pastor. So this church pastor actually does train martial arts and was very comfortable with engaging this person. But it was a burglary, basically caught by the pastor. He was the only one there, so it wasn't a crowded time, but he broke into the church through a glass window, and then in order to burglarize or probably vandalize the church, the pastor was there and actually controlled the guy while police were called and arrived. So he was able to control that situation. So I think from a takeaway perspective, one thing we could consider is security film on your churches, especially near the entryways that are common that criminals would try to break to get in or damage things. So security film, we work with Clear Armor all the time. It's a very good company. Basically, it creates a barrier that you're not going to be able to smash through. So it has some other capabilities as well. So that's a consideration on that. Pretty cool that this pastor was able to step up and didn't get hurt and didn't get the other guy hurt. So he was very calm in his remarks and how he handled that. He wasn't trying to hurt the guy, but he also wanted to prevent further crime and damage. So good on him. Next one is Suffolk, Virginia. A pastor went into war mode. So another parishioner or somebody that the church knew, this guy walked up to the pastor and bumped into him or got really close to him, and the pastor looked down and saw a gun pointed at him, right at his torso, so kind of at waistline area. The pastor immediately went to defend himself and tried to stuff the gun. The gun did go off, but it went between their feet, luckily not hitting anybody. There were several other people around there that detained this subject until police could arrive. But good on the pastor for reacting that way. And I think this story brings out the reality of how these interactions can go. This was a very close quarter entanglement where the gun is extremely close to you and the person holding the gun. And so being able to control that person's hands and the gun with two hands and directing that muzzle away from you is huge. But if we're not training that kind of stuff and not really having that in our mind, then we are going to be caught by surprise, and it's going to take a second for us to get caught up. But that's the reality of what we're dealing with. This stuff pops off really quick. The other thing I want to bring out is not using as personal protection necessarily. Some pastors don't want that, some do. But the reality is the deranged, mentally ill people who are carrying out these attacks often are targeting the priest. So we need to have assets. We need to have security near the priest or the pastor, the head of the church, because often that is the person that the attacker is going to target, unless they're wanting to get as many innocent people as they can, as quickly as they can. Often if it's a targeted thing, they're going after the pastor. And so having that asset there ready to go is super important. Guys, hope this finds you all well. God bless. Take care.